Welcome back, everyone, to the Men on a Mission podcast. I'm your host, Brad Richard, and shortly we will be starting our next episode. We will be providing you tools, resources, and information that you can use to make your life just a little bit better. But before we do that, let's honor our country, and then we'll begin the podcast.
I'm coming home to America, home to my people, home to my family and friends. Coming home where my heart is, home where my life is, home where my freedoms never end.
And that's Coming Home by Amy Scruggs. And we are privileged to have Amy on tonight as a guest on the Men on a Mission podcast. We are going to hear a full version of her single "Coming Home" that she dedicated to veterans and to the armed services. But that was just an excerpt. We will have the full cut later on in the interview. Let me tell you a little bit about Amy Scruggs. We have her tonight, and we also have Tammy on as well. And Tammy is with an organization called Saddles in Service, and so we're going to have her in the second segment. But I'm going to give you a little bit of a short bio on Amy. At the beginning of 2010, Amy decided to dedicate her musical talents to the veterans and troops for all her performances from 2009 through 2011. Amy was selected as the official spokesperson for the American Veterans AMVETS Service Foundation of California. Amy's oldest son, Ryan Scruggs, stepped into lead guitar in 2011 and shared the stage and the dream with her by performing alongside her. Amy's single, "Coming Home," written by David Adams and produced by Paul McKenna, is a celebration song for our military heroes. Now, Amy is a best-selling author. She is a recording artist. She is a TV host, and etc., etc., etc. I'm going to let her fill in all those blanks. So I don't know about that intro, but welcome to the podcast, Amy.
Thank you. I think the last one would be she is exhausted, but this is great to be here today. Thank you
Right.
so much.
Absolutely. There's so many things that we can't possibly get to in 30 minutes, but we're gonna have links in the show notes. And you and Tammy, who we're going to be speaking with from Saddles and Service, in the second segment, you guys are friends and you know each other.
Yes.
And so that's why we're talking to both of you. I know that you have a nonprofit organization called Voice for Heroes. So if you could tell the listeners about your nonprofit and then your music business, and just all the things that you've done. Now, you've had a veteran television show, and then the different performances for veterans and the national anthems and things of that nature. So I'm going to let you run run with that while I get a drink, and we're going to listen to your story. So it's all you.
Well, thank you so much. Again, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm glad that you touched and highlighted on some of the work that I've been able to do with the veteran military community over the years, and it's really been such an organic led process. And I'm so grateful to have my dear friend Tammy here with us today, the co-founder of Saddles and Service, which really pairs in, and you'll find out how that goes along with Voice for Heroes and why I created Voice for Heroes in the first place, just to be here doing interviews just like this, to be sharing the message and getting the word out there of all the ways that we can support our veteran community. But I started off at 3 years old singing the national anthem on the fireplace with a hairbrush. I just knew that that was what I was going to do. I knew that I was going to sing. I started playing by ear on the piano at 3, went into classical lessons by the time I was 5, and classically trained vocally as well, always singing throughout school, high school, and out in the community. My dad is an Air Force veteran. And so my parents really instilled that red, white, and blue, and how to honor our heroes and just make that part of that's who we were. That was our life. And so I always looked for ways that I knew I was going to encompass that into my career or into my world and how I've raised my children. And in 2004, I was able to start recording in Nashville and kind of had the music door opened up. I have a big background as well in business and in wholesale mortgage and sales and leading sales teams. At 2004, I was doing both. I was running a sales team here in the Southern California area, as well as going back and forth to Nashville and working on my music career at the same time. And in 2007 and 8, we know what happened to the real estate and mortgage community. The rug literally came out from underneath my feet. That part of my career that sustained providing for the kids and providing for us, that literally vanished overnight. And I remembered my manager in Nashville in 04, when I started that first project, saying, Amy, the artists that run it as a business are the ones that make it. They call it music business for a reason. Run it as a business, keep your passion and who you are involved, and go do it. So when the mortgage and real estate industry collapsed, I realized what a great time for me to take the music business and put it out there and take that talent to the road. And I started asking for the business. At the same time, my children and I were volunteering at the USO facility that was near us. And so we would go and welcome the soldiers as they came through and serve sandwiches, and got to know the directors and the volunteers there, and just loved being a part of anything going on in our community that was tied to serving the troops that were coming through our community. And so I was still singing and out there rebuilding a career from nothing after losing the other one. And it was interesting how both worlds kind of melded at the same time, because within 6 months, by asking for the business and running it like a business, I was able to open for Clint Black on the 4th of July in Camp Verde, Arizona. And that was my first big national stage. That was an incredible moment and opportunity that opened that door. But at the same time, I was also becoming very well known for being out and singing the national anthem in the community and being a part of the veteran community. And I watched these two worlds start to collide, and I was able to meet some amazing veterans from the AMVETS community there in Southern California. And they said, gosh, we really could use you to sing the 4th of July at Fort Irwin, one of the largest bases we have in the US and training facility. And next thing you know, I have a full concert book for 4th of July. The year after Clint Black, I'm now at Fort Irwin. And it just, the word spread quick. And before we knew it, we really had an incredible partnership. And I was meeting more and more amazing veteran families. It wasn't just meeting veterans at a show. I would see some of the same families. I would go, and then they would ask me to sing at their deployment, or they're coming home, or I would be there for command change ceremonies. And there was one special event we did one year that they were doing what they called an I Do Take Two. And they had about 40 different service members that wanted to renew their vows to their spouses after coming home from deployment. And so we sang music there for them. And we even wrote a song, my music partner at the time and we wrote a song for it and everything, and got to be a part of this wonderful wedding ceremony for our heroes. And it was just so special, the opportunities that my children got to be with me through these, as we one at a time built these relationships with families and with veterans. And I went on to be able to then open for some of the biggest names in country music while I was doing that. We were out there touring. We would visit veteran posts, we would visit the veteran community, and we would also get to do incredible shows and tour the country doing that. And it was an incredible season. It was hard work. But it was eye-opening. And every time I sing the national anthem, for me, it's not about standing there and going, oh, this is a performance. For me, the national anthem, I can literally visualize every soldier that I've stood in front of over the last years of doing that. When I would stand in front of wounded warriors that had just come home, and they are still literally just off the plane coming home from being wounded, and I'm standing there singing our nation's anthem to them. You don't come out the same from that. It changed me forever. And I have such respect and reverence for every word of what our national anthem is. People say, well, I don't know the words to that. It amazes me when I hear the people that don't know the words to the national anthem, or, well, we know it's a difficult song to sing. Well, it is. Yes, it is. But man, when you put your heart and passion, and when you see the things that I've seen, I didn't serve and my children didn't serve and my father did. And so many of my friends and amazing heroes that I've met throughout the years, they have served. And so I had a beautiful opportunity as an artist to go out there and really make a difference in a way that I was proud of, to bring my talent and say, here's how I can become a part of this community. And then in 2011, moved to the San Diego area, still volunteering for veterans community, still very much involved, but went back into the business world. It opened up a little bit. And so I was able to step back into sales management while still performing, and put those two careers back together, and kind of recoup some financial losses from that time, because living on the road with kids isn't exactly the easiest thing. So that was a good decision to make at that time, and opened up new doors that a few years later, I was now hosting a TV show called Veterans One, and another one called Operation American Dream. Now I'm helping sales professionals. I'm getting to share the story of veterans on a TV show. I'm still friends with the veteran community, and I still get to sing on request, and I sing the anthem at the stadium every year. And it was just a wonderful combination of seeing the different channels in my life that came together and going, wait a minute, I think there's some other things that we could be doing here. And I've always been told, I've got a big voice, and I've always tried to use it for the right reasons. And what I loved about sitting down on the TV show was when I would have, like my friend Tammy come in and sit in the seat and go, let's talk about your incredible foundation. Let's talk about the difference you're making in the lives of veterans. And I realized it was my job as a host to help them tell their story, to help get the word out there by doing like this podcast now, to help make a difference and say, here's resources for you. Veterans don't always know the resources that are out there for them. And so I created Voice for Heroes back in 2018 to go, wait a minute, I get to be a voice. What if I get to take this voice now and help others tell their story, bring media attention to a foundation that may not have a PR person volunteering for them yet, that doesn't know how to get in touch with maybe, documentary producers and local TV to get them out there and say, here's what we're doing to serve our veteran community. So Voice for Heroes came about in a way that this was a way I could now, through a nonprofit, my nonprofit serves the other nonprofits. I feel like I'm a pastor to say, well, I've got resources. Let's help that. And it's been such a joy to see that all that come together, and such a blessing. And I feel that those major shows, I've had such a privilege of opening for some of the biggest names in country music over the years. And I've stood in stadiums, and I've had those dream moments on national stages that every artist would give their right arm to have. But for me, I felt like they were the reward for all of the other shows, that there was no cameras. There was no press. It was me and those military families getting to know each other. And when I was singing the House of Blues years back, there was one show I was doing at the House of Blues, and we finished a song, and I'll never forget, after kind of the applause, this voice came out and just said, Amy, yellow ribbon, thank you. And I went, that's one of my families out there. It was somebody that knew me from being a part of the Yellow Ribbon Reintegration Program, and a part of, what I was doing out there, getting to know them one-on-one. And that meant more to me than absolutely anything. And I hope that still my career and everything that I do to this day is a reflection, all of that life-changing experience, and now still getting to do it in a bigger way and help others tell their story. And that's how we got here today.
Wow, there is so much to unpack there. And so much to open, so many cans to open. The nonprofit Voice for Heroes, like if one of my listeners goes to the website, what will they find there? Do you have resources there for them on your website, or tell them what to expect when they visit your nonprofit?
They can see a sample of some of the work that we've done, and some of the media coverage we've been able to get for American Legions, for Saddles and Service, and a few others. And then they can reach out if they're interested in saying, hey, we need help. Can you help us get on a podcast? Or can you come bring cameras out and do a full video project? Or we need some resources to help our visibility, so that we can let the community know that they're there, that they're going to reach me directly. We're going to answer their questions. And if I don't have the resource, I guarantee I have somebody who does. I've got a wonderful network of amazing people surrounding me across the country. And so to be that resource, yes, they can reach me, contact, the email, come right to me, and I can say, let's find you the right resource so that we can help share your story.
Okay, terrific. I'll be contacting you.
Oh, fantastic.
There's several things that I'm working on as well. Just the whole music aspect of it. to let give you kind of an idea of where I'm coming from, along with being an Army vet of 7 years, I've written 3 books. 2 of them were co-authored, and one was my autobiography.
Wow.
And I struggled deeply as a veteran. And my transition was not a transition from war to civilian life. My transition was from childhood to adulthood. And my transition happened at the age of 50 years old. I was a codependent child in a man's body for 50 years. And I tried to embrace the military and snap out of that childhood codependency in the military. It didn't work, but I met some great people, and I'm very glad that I served. The reason why I bring that up is music is extremely personal to me and very important. I used 3 particular songs in my healing and in my transition and in changing things in my life. And so, there's a big backstory to that. But I know how powerful music is. I could not have made the changes that I made, and I left childhood behind, and I started living the life of a man at 50, which was 8 years ago, and I do owe a lot of that to music. And
Wow.
so your connection to veterans as well as your music is beyond powerful. It is so important. And for veterans, some of us in our darkest times, whether it's PTSD or suicide ideology, drug abuse, physical abuse, veterans, sometimes that's all we have is
Mhm.
music and songs and stuff to center us. And so, I thank you, and my listeners, I'm sure, thank you for everything that you're doing. But it's really powerful when it comes to, it's powerful to all people, but I think it's more important and more powerful to veterans because they're always in that fight or flight mode. They're
Mhm.
always in that aggressive nature. They're always in the mission. They're always on high alert, and music calms their soul and and keeps them centered. So I can't say enough about how important that is. So
Wow.
thank you
Thank
very
And
much.
I have seen that firsthand completely over the years of being able to perform in front of so many veterans and sometimes fun music. My former music partner, we would go up and do everything from Led Zeppelin to good country tunes and just things that people related to and wanted to hear. And of course, we had the song "Coming Home," which Dave Adams was my partner in music at that time and toured with me, so we could promote that song. And we saw a lot of lives touched. And it really became an anthem, especially for the Vietnam veterans who didn't get the proper thank you when they came home. And we said, listen, this song is to say thank you to you when you didn't get it, and then thank you now to all of our heroes that are coming home. And we really wanted it just to be a celebration anthem, and it was. I'm very proud of the lives that it touched over the years. So thank you.
It is an amazing song and a great segue to playing the full version. So we're going to go ahead and let you listen to Amy's song "Coming Home," the full version, not just the sample at the beginning of the podcast. So we're going to go ahead and do that now. And when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more with Amy before we take a sponsor break and bring Tammy into the podcast. So sit back, enjoy "Coming Home" from Amy Scruggs.
She walks the church and gets on her knees, lights a candle and begs God, please. I can't lose another one like this. She lost her daddy to war we'd won, just as her life had begun. She cries out, "This is my only son." She gets a call, it's 3 a.m. Her heart heart beats fast, don't know if it's good news or bad. She hears his voice, and then he says, Mama, I'm coming home to America, home to my people, home to my family and friends. Coming home where my heart is, home where my life is, home where my freedoms never end. I'm coming home. So she holds her head high and she smiles that smile. He'll soon be coming home, even though she knows he won't stay long. Sees like his daddy, he believes in freedom. This he'll fight to defend. Thank God for men like him, my friend. So he heads on out in the dead of the night. She cries and she sighs and says her goodbyes. And she prays to God she'll hear him say again, I'm coming home to America, home to my people, home to my family and friends. Coming home where my heart is, home where my life is, home where my freedom's never end. I'm coming home. She's proud of her child and the work he's done. Proud of her only son. She can't wait to hear him say, I'm coming home to America, home to my people, home to my family and friends. Coming home where my heart is, home where my life is, home where my freedom's never end. I'm coming home to America, home to my people, home to my family and friends. Coming home where my heart is, home where my life is, home where my freedom's never end. I'm coming home. I'm coming home. I'm coming home.
And that was Coming Home from Amy Scruggs. And yeah, I love that song. I've listened to it several times. I know you sent it to me, obviously. And yeah, I just love it. It's a powerful song, and you have a kind of a soft side to it, but when you get to the chorus, it's a punch. It's a punch in the face, and it's awesome. Can they get a copy? My listeners, can they get a copy of that at your main website?
You can hear it on my main website, amyscruggsmusic.com. I don't have it available for download right now, but I do plan on reaching the writer and making sure I've got the licensing still in place so that I can re-release and have that downloaded. But you can absolutely hear it if you go to amyscruggsmusic.com. Then the song is there and you can play it over and over again.
Okay, cool. I kind of want to wrap up with our segment, and when you're traveling around, and I know that you are working with a lot of different veteran organizations. Let me ask you a question, because this is something that puzzles me. I'm a peer group coordinator, and I run a peer group for veterans here locally. And I do a workshop with them called Who Were You? And I take them through some steps and provide them everything that I have to help them and to keep more of them alive. That's kind of the goal of all of us, as far as helping vets go. There is so many resources and so many organizations, and sometimes it's just a sea of help. In your opinion and your experience and background, why do you think we still are having such an issue with suicides and veterans struggling still? Because the resources are really unlimited. There is so much out there, but yet
Right.
they're not taking advantage of everything. And there's got to be a reason. There's got to be some kind of wall that nobody is seeing. And what do you see? What do you think when it comes
Well,
to that?
I definitely know Tammy's going to want to touch on some of this too, and her firsthand experience and with what she does with Saddles and Service. But from my perspective, almost from I want to say a PR perspective, is getting that word out. You don't know what's there to help if you don't know it's there. And if you're anybody who's having a hard time or in depression, or especially going through PTSD, they're most likely not Googling what are my best resources around me. And the more that I think this is a community issue. If every community really leveled up and saying, these are the resources in our community, reaching those veterans in their community, I think that we have a better chance. A lot of times we look at such a big picture and people will be like, well, it's so big, what do I do? Well, we start in our own community, start at your own veteran center, start knowing your neighbors around you, and making sure that as a community, we're getting the words out there. We're doing podcasts like this. We're getting it on local television, getting that awareness of what resources are there so we can start saving more lives. And I believe that it really can start there, one community at a time, and then watch it level up.
Absolutely. I think everything should start local, should begin there. When I initially started my podcast, it was a self-help podcast because of what I was teaching and what I wrote about and what I was speaking about to people. And I didn't really have a connection with the overall population, just the general self-help. And I felt like I was like falling into, another, just another self-help person, a Tony Robbins or a Les Brown or Lisa Nichols. And I didn't want to be like any of them. I saw what was going on in our country, and being a veteran myself, my level of irritation just went through the roof, time and time again, over and over again. And so last year I transitioned to the podcast being just for veterans. I moved from larger podcast audience to local. I live close to Tyler, Texas, and I'm spending most of my time when I'm not working full time here local, right here in the city of Tyler with the veterans that we serve, and around the state of Texas. We were talking about Elkhart, where one of the ranches are with Saddles and
Yes.
Service, and so yeah, I think it's really important that you start local. And my goal as a podcast host and as a mentor coach is, all I want to do is help develop veterans into the leaders they already are, because we need them in our cities, we need them in our counties, and we need them in our states. And we really need them to protect everybody else,
Mhm.
you know. And so that's my mission. The Men on the Mission podcast is just that, is finding them locally and putting them in that place where they're comfortable to be a leader and to stand up to stand up for the community and to protect the people that are in it. So absolutely local, right on. I agree. With your music and with the things that you've done, when you did the TV show, and that was Veterans One.
Yes.
Okay. And
Yes.
what content did you cover on the TV show?
It was all other nonprofits, great resources, sometimes an inspiring story from a veteran. Everything from all the different incredible recreational organizations, PTSD. I had doctors talking about it, documentary producers coming in and talking about what they're doing to bring more information for the veteran community. And one of my favorite moments was interviewing a World War II veteran who was a Normandy survivor. I have to say that's one of the most powerful, moving interviews I've ever been able to host. So it was really a whole breadth, as long as it was a topic that was a resource or a story or something that benefited the veteran community, they were on the show. And it was a really great experience.
Where can they see the TV show?
You can find it now on YouTube. You can look up Veterans One. It should all still be there. We had to take the large hiatus when COVID happened. Unfortunately, haven't been back in the studio because of that, but that's okay. There's still a lot of great content there. You can find Veterans One TV on YouTube.
Okay, cool. And the song, they can hear it on your website, Coming Home. They heard it tonight. It's a great song, and you have a lot of other music too, which is excellent. So Amy's links will be in the show notes, so you can connect with her at her website, which she does business coaching and a lot of different things as far as, lights, camera, ready. That's the name of your book, right? Lights, camera, ready.
Lights, camera, action. Yes, helping people be
Lights, camera, action. Right.
camera ready and virtual meeting ready.
Yeah, for my audience, I know a lot of them have a long ways to go in building that self-esteem and building that self-worth, and I know that you're doing that. You're helping people, break through some barriers and that kind of stuff. But you're into producing, and you've done the TV show, and your website is amazing. So I want the listeners to check it out. Check out Amy's music, and check out her nonprofit organization, Voice for Heroes, and just reach out to her and follow her, listen to her music, buy her music, and all that stuff that we want you to plug into her. So if you want to just stay with us, Amy, we're going to take a short break, and when we get back from our short break, it's a quick sponsor break. We're going to bring on Tammy, and I'm going to ask Tammy when we get back how to pronounce her last name. So when I get back, I'll embarrass myself by asking her how to pronounce her last name. We will be right back after a short break. Welcome our new sponsor, Scars and Stripes Coffee Company. They empower veterans to build their own business using their e-commerce platform. When you purchase from Scars and Stripes Coffee, you are buying from a veteran, and your purchase directly impacts the men and women who have served our country. Do more than say, thank you for your service. Order today and empower a veteran. Use vet code BRADRICHARD at scarsandstripescoffee.com. That's scarsandstripescoffee.com. Have you heard about Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First of all, it's free. They have great creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, and it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and many, many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you'll need to make a podcast in one place. Check them out and download the free Anchor app, or go to anchor.fm to get started. That's anchor.fm to get started. Welcome back to the Men on a Mission podcast. We are back with segment 2. First segment, we were talking with Amy Scruggs, and she is a recording artist and did a awesome song that you heard in the first segment, Coming Home. We learned so much, and she is so involved in the veterans community. She is definitely here for you, my listeners, the men and women that listen to the Men on a Mission podcast. Amy is on your side, and she's definitely your friend. She loves you, and she's with you all the way. So we have another lady that's on with us. I want to welcome Tammy to the podcast. This is part 2. Tammy, if you can help me out with instead of me trying to butcher it, just I'll let you tell them how to pronounce your last name.
Sure. I know it's a difficult one. It's Oluvic.
Oluvic. What nationality is that?
Sure. So my That's my husband's family is Croatian. So now when you're in Europe, you would say it, you would pronounce it Oluvic. So
Oluvic.
here in America, it's Oluvic.
Oluvic.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We are going to be speaking with Tammy Oluvic, and she is the co-founder of Saddles in Service. And they have three ranches, and these ranches are therapeutic, um, healing ranches for veterans, and they work with horses, and they do uh, equine therapy. But I want to tell you a little bit more about Tammy, so you get kind of a sense of who she is. Um, Her dream of Saddles in Service became a reality when her husband Mike retired from the United States Navy in 2016. They purchased an equestrian ranch in Alpine, California. A few months later, Tammy learned about a group of horses that had been rescued from an abusive environment and were in need of forever homes. 2 days later, they had their first two rescue horses. Today, they're home. Today, they home 13 amazing horses, each one with a unique story. Tammy wanted to not only rescue the horses, but also give them a new purpose. Her passion for veterans and their families, paired with her love of horses, created the idea of Saddles in Service. The idea grew to include first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, EMTs, and their families. These heroes have a calling to serve their nation and their local communities. Throughout their service, many of these heroes encountered unimaginable hardships that can create lifelong physical and mental health challenges. Yes, indeed. Tammy wanted to create a place where heroes can begin their journey of health alongside a rescue horse. Tell us how that all works. I've heard of the concept before, and I know that you do have three ranches in three different parts of the country. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us about where they're located at and what exactly goes on at the ranches.
Sure. Well, thank you so much for having us. And,
You're welcome.
I have to have a little shout out to Amy because if it wasn't for Amy, which, we met in high school. So, but if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be where we are today. Because she brought out a news crew back in, I think it was 2018, and it changed our lives. We ended up being in a great documentary, Wounded Heroes by Michael Geyer. Amy recommended us to him, which then turned it into us being on the Discovery Channel, which will air this Sunday on Operation Outdoor Freedom. And just all these doors have opened up. And, it was definitely Amy. She's a godsend to us, and what she does for veterans and first responders, and it's just amazing. So how we're just so thankful for her, and for her friendship especially. So we have now three different sites. We are just opening up Texas. It's in Elkhart, Texas, and it'll be mirrored to what we do here in San Diego. Here in San Diego, we teach horsemanship, and you learn from the predator prey relationship with the horse, all the way to doing cattle, if you want to learn how to work cattle and everything in between. And so we'll be doing that same program in Texas. And our Wyoming is different. Our Wyoming program is a week-long program, and it's certain parts of the year because snow and all that. So we're open for, I think this year we'll be open about 6 months of the year for it. And so what we do is, from our veterans and first responders who've been going through our programs here in San Diego and Texas, we get them prepared for this week-long program in Wyoming. We fly them up, we cover all the costs, and we send two at a time because, I will tell you, it's pretty strenuous. It's not just, oh, let's get on a horse and we're city slickers. No, you are on a horse some of the days maybe 7 or 8 hours of that day, and you're moving cattle. Depending when you're going to be there, you may be helping vaccinate, castrate the calves. And so it is a lot of work. It's not just getting on a horse and taking a little ride. So we really prepare our veterans and first responders for this, because we want them to go up there. It's a challenge, and we want them to just grab that challenge and just feel such a sense of pride with all they've done in their horsemanship skills. We talk about the suicide rates, right, for the veterans and first responders. And, the first responder suicide rates are getting to match those of the veterans. And I was introduced to something the other day, and I was reading in a horse magazine, and it talks about the law of diminishing anxiety. And I started reading it, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is exactly what happens with our first responders and our veterans. And I mean, really just anybody. But we talk about this cup of worry. And, each of us, our cup may be big, or some of us, we have a very small cup. And what happens is with a horse, you're riding your horse one day, a butterfly flies in front of you, and your horse is like, oh my gosh, what was that? Did you see that? And just freaks out. They really didn't freak out over that butterfly. It was a course of events of that day that possibly I didn't recognize. Oh, he was really stressed out when I was putting that saddle on him. Oh man, when I started riding him, he seemed a little stressed, or when I was putting him in the trailer. So all these little stressors are being added into his cup. And by the time the butterfly flew by, that cup had already filled over. It was spilling over. And even with our veterans and first responders, it may not be that I forgot to do something and my husband exploded because of that. It's because over the course of the day or the weeks or the months, his cup has been being filled with, stressful events, anxiety. And so when our veterans and first responders work with the horses, we talk to them about this and talk about, yeah, the horse seemed a little stressed when you put the saddle on him. So let's take some time to work with the horse, settle him down, and now, he empties out some of that anxiety, right? So for the veterans and first responders to recognize it in their horses, they're able to also recognize it in their own lives. That kind of stressed me out. What happened, road rage, whatever it could be. Let me take a minute to just kind of unpack it, be done with it, move on with my life. And so really helping them address some of these small, insignificant events, but really be able to work through them. And so working with the horses, you can do that. You can learn it. And you can learn the technique of recognizing something that has really affected you and taking the time to deal with it and then move forward. And so people ask, why horses? Well, I mean, they're awesome. First of all, they're so majestic. But they really can teach us how to communicate, nonverbal communication, and to recognize how our body actions, even our facial expressions. Horses can read your facial expressions. And so we're really aware of ourselves. And a lot of times our veterans and first responders that are dealing with anxiety and stress and post-traumatic stress, they don't even know what they're putting out just by their physical nature, their body language. And so when they work with the horse, they really have to be aware of that. The horses also mirror our feelings. They can tell when you're angry or when you're frustrated. They'll walk away from you, or they'll just look at you like, yeah, coming over there until you take time out. So again, it's helping these guys really understand what they're putting out there. And so I love that the horses do this for our men and women. And the outcome when they are working with the horses is, they say they feel connected again. They feel that they have a renewed purpose or a renewed hope, confidence, joy, something that they haven't felt in such a long time. And it's so cool to have a horse do that for you. And the horse doesn't care what you've done, what you haven't done. The horse just wants to know that you're with them and you're in the present, you're in the moment, and that you're going to keep them safe, and you're going to have that camaraderie, that respect, and purpose together. And all, it helps strengthen the individual. It can help strengthen the family, which in turn can help strengthen relationships and their own departments, police departments, fire departments, whatever it may be, and then also their communities. So really, it's not just helping the veteran and first responder, it's really helping, this bigger unit.
I wanted to comment on, it wasn't the last thing you said. When you said that the horse wants to know that they're safe and that, that you're going to protect them and, or that they are going to protect them and, watch over them. And I had a light bulb moment. Both you and Amy, it makes my heart soar to hear both of your perspectives because music is something that I advocate. It's something that I use myself to make my changes and to make things better, in my life. And the other thing that I currently teach my mentoring clients is going back and connecting with their little people, with the other member of the team, their little boy or their little girl. So many veterans have completely cut the cord and left them behind. And when you said the horse wants to know that they're going to protect them and take care of them and that they're calm and they're loving, and it's like exactly. And for veterans, they need to have something to take care of and to control but to protect at the same time. For me, the light bulb was exactly that's what I keep telling the veterans that I work with when it comes to their little guys. They're little men inside of them that are fearful, angry, crushed, throwing a fit. Woe is me. Their little guy wants to be loved, protected, cared for, and it's their responsibility to do that for their little self. And so when you said that about the horse, I went, bingo. I think there's an element to horses for veterans or for men. I can speak for men. When you're working with horses or cattle, there are fond memories that surface from when you were younger about your first dog or when you went out to feed the cattle with your dad or I always wanted a pony when I was a little boy, but I never had one. I went out to the city and I became an executive and now I'm miserable. And then I went to, the military and the story goes on. But I think it kind of brings them back to that childhood, into that happiness. And so it has to be a very powerful experience. I mean, can you share with the listeners some of the transformations that you've seen in the first responders and the veterans that you guys have worked with? You don't have to use names, obviously. Bob or veteran A, or if you could just kind of share, because I would love to hear some of the stories of what you saw, happening with them as they were there, and you worked with them.
Absolutely. As you were talking, I thought about one of our guys. He's a Navy EOD tech. So, he did the explosive ordnance. And when he came to us, his anxiety was through the roof. Oh my goodness. A little leaf would blow by and he about came out of his skin. And so I put him with a horse I had that had severe anxiety. So at first everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, Tammy, I don't think that's a good idea. Why don't you give him the big Dylan, who's a 2,000-pound giraffe? That would be better for him." And I thought about it and I thought, yeah, but what's Dylan going to teach him? Dylan's not going to teach him anything. And so I paired him with Barbie, and Barbie, man, she had anxiety like nothing else. But what happened was he was able to step out of his own anxiety to make her feel comfortable, to make her feel safe. And he would say, "It feels so good to feel this way." And so, the hope is the more they practice it, the more it'll be easier for them to pull themselves out of that. And you have to be vulnerable when you're with the horse. You have to be vulnerable, you have to be open. And horses never lie, but they know when we're lying. I'm gonna tell you right now, they do. But what we do is when we're first working with the horse and the hero, they're in a big round pen and they're moving the horse in different directions using nonverbal communication. And you look for signs on the horse that it's ready to join up with you. It's ready to trust you. It's ready to respect you. And they're ready for you to be their leader, because they're looking for a leader. They're pack animals. And like I said, they're prey animals. They're looking for you to be a leader. So we have to identify these signs, and there are signs within the horse's body movement, how they are carrying their head, their ear. Um, and so when the hero realizes, okay, this horse is ready, they'll stop everything. They'll kind of turn their back to the horse, and that horse will join up with them. And I see these grown guys, I mean, combat veterans, they start crying. I mean, they just tear up. And there's this vulnerability, right? They're like, okay, please join up with me. And that horse joins up with them. And then it will follow them wherever they walk. And it's like you have a little pocket pony who's ready to jump in your back pocket. And it's a beautiful thing. And you really see, I had one Marine who would come out. First day he came out, he said to me, "Sorry, I have resting," the A word, AH word. I don't know if I can say it on here, but he goes, "I'm so sorry, I have this face." And I go, "Oh, I've never heard of that before. I've heard, other," but he goes, "I'm just a little overwhelmed." And I go, "Oh, no problem." He goes, "I really don't like to be around people, like a lot of people, and I'm a little overwhelmed." And I go, "Yeah, no worries. When you start coming out," because it was just for his tour, I go, "You'll work one-on-one," because we put everyone one-on-one with a wrangler and a horse. We don't do group sessions like that. It's all one-on-one. And so the first two times he came, reeked of alcohol. Like it was like he had been drinking for a week straight. I don't even know. And no smiling, nothing. The third week, we couldn't get him to shut up from that week on, or to stop smiling, never smelled like alcohol again. And even if it was a rainy day where we had to cancel working with the horses, he would show up anyways and just go sit in the pasture with the horse he worked with, and just to sit in there for half hour or whatever. So to see that transformation was amazing. He ended up getting engaged. He got a great job up in another state. And I mean, it was beautiful to watch this guy who, came all scary looking to just this great open individual. And so, yeah, we have another guy. He has a traumatic brain injuries. And when he started here, he's like, "Oh, this is a bunch of crap. All this stuff is BS. None of this works." And then he found out we don't have therapists here. We don't do psychotherapy. Psychotherapy for me is best, when they're working with their therapist. But when they're working with their horse, they don't need someone watching them, because then they can't be themselves or be real. So when he found out we didn't have psychotherapy and it was truly a holistic approach, he was like, okay, maybe this will be okay. Well, his transformation was so amazing. He's actually the veteran that will be featured on the Discovery Channel. And so he came to us with no horse experience, and it was at the beginning of last year. So he hasn't even been with us a year. And for the show, he taught the host, Jay Garstecki, how to ride a horse, taught him how to move cattle. Like, it's been amazing. And so you see these veterans who are coming through here, and they're now taking a leadership role as a wrangler, and they're helping their brothers and sisters who are coming in. And so we don't just, I want to express that we don't just do a week-long program or a 3-day program or whatever it may be. It's ongoing, because each of our heroes come to us, with different needs and goals, and they're all individuals, so our program, we individually tailor it to each person. And we also had research done here. So in the International Journal of Health Sciences, there is an article on research that took place here at the ranch. And what it did was measure the heart rate variability. And it was very interesting that it shows it takes 3 visits with the horse for the brain to catch up with the heart. So, everybody feels good. Oh, I'm with the horse. I feel good. This is great. But it really takes 3 times for the brain to start catching up and for us to start seeing changes in the brain. So that is why for us, we really wanted that approach that, hey, it may be 2 years someone's in our program. That's fine. And we're going to go at their pace as well. But you find that nobody wants to go that slow. They're like ready to become cowboys and cowgirls. So it's been great to see that.
It sounds to me that, and I don't know if it's this way at all three, at all 3 ranches, because you said one of them is a little bit different. You're giving them a mission, and and they may not see it that way, but you're giving them something to conquer, defeat. It's like this horse isn't going to get the best of me, and now I'm pissed. So I'm going to stick it out, and I'm going to do this. And from a veteran standpoint, that is, I think that's one of the most important things that is lacking, is the veterans that are not serving any longer. They don't have another mission. They don't have a personal mission other than a job, a wife, kids, responsibilities, yada yada yada. They don't have a mission. And so the transition brings them to a place of being completely lost. It's like, I go to work to make a living and pay my bills, but that's it. And that means nothing to me. And what you're giving, is a mission for something for them to tackle. It's a challenge for them. And I think that is super important. There are probably, do you have people that are terrified of animals? It's like, I don't want to go anywhere near them.
Yes, yes, I've had a few that are absolutely, they were so scared of the horses. And but these horses are so loving and they're so awesome. They get over it and they're ready to get on them, and everybody learns how to ride bareback first. I don't do the saddle. We do bareback first. Yeah, they have been scared, definitely, especially our
That's
big
funny.
horse.
Especially the
Yes.
big one
Yeah.
that you have.
Yes. He's a big he's a big boy, but you know, he's he's the laziest. So it all works out for him.
Yeah.
It all works out.
He knows he's the big one in the pen, so he can just lounge around. We're gonna have
Yes.
we're gonna have your website in the show notes, and when they go there, now I know that you have the ranch in Texas, the one in Wyoming, and the one in California.
Yes.
When people visit your website, tell the listeners what they'll find there, and how does one differentiate between the three ranches? I mean, it's like, well, I don't want to go to that one, but I like to go to this one. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because some people might be more comfortable going to the Texas one, especially people coming from the East Coast. So, how does that work when they get there?
Sure. So when they sign up for the program, and it's super simple. It's, I think their name, phone number, email address, and then what branch of service or first responder status they have. And then it'll say on there, do you want California or Texas? But ultimately, if they click on Texas and they're like, oh, I really wanted California, we're going to be talking with them once they filled that out. And so we work with them individually and talk with them about the program and what their goals are. And so really they don't have to make that decision right there on the website, but it does have that for them, that option. But we talk with them personally and just kind of go through what their actual interests are. So it's pretty easy to maneuver through the website, but then we work with them on where they want to go and what's best for them.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Do you do you work with any other organizations, like people that have been court ordered, have an order from a judge that they need to, seek some type of treatment or therapy, or there's several, services that are out there, and a lot of veterans go to the services. Do you work with like younger people? I mean, do you guys have an aspect to that where like they may be court ordered to go there and to settle down? I mean, because I think what you're doing could be applied to a lot of different things, a lot of different
Right,
issues.
right. So like, yeah, so really we only serve veterans and first responders and their
Hmm.
families.
Bingo.
Um,
Okay, that's what I was referring
so
to.
yeah, that's it. And it's interesting you say that because we did have an instance where someone wanted to come here, and a younger, their teenager, and wanted to do community service. They had to do community service because they had gotten in trouble for something.
Hmm.
So I spoke, and at first I was like, oh, gosh, that might be okay. And then I spoke to one of our cops here who's going through our program. And he goes, the last thing I want is someone like that here. He goes, I'm here to heal and to be away from my job.
Hmm.
And if we're going to have people here that are serving community service, that makes the whole atmosphere different. And I go,
Right.
you are right. I go, you're my priority, and you're right. I'm so glad, I asked him that. So that is, yeah. Now, that's not to say we do have a veteran who started coming out here because he was on the suicide watch list. And so the police officer talked to him and said, hey, you know what? I really feel you should go to this program. And so he started coming out here, and it really made a difference in his life. And so we do have relationships with some of these. I'm trying to think of the word right now. I forgot what they're
VSOs, or veteran service
yeah.
officers. I thought that's what you were referring to as, the VSOs. And my question
Hey,
was worded really bad. And I guess I was referring to family members or veterans or first responders that have gotten into a place in their life where they really need some help, and they may find themselves being ordered by a judge or by a therapist. It's like, what I'm giving you is not working. Hey, what about this? So that's kind of what I was referring to.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we do. We do. Yes, we're working with a couple different mental health groups out here, and also the VA has us as a resource as well.
Perfect.
So definitely, yes, and we're a resource in addition to that going in to see your therapist because there is a need for that,
Hmm.
and we're an additional resource for that.
Well, I've been to
And
the webs. Go ahead.
oh, I'm so sorry. I had to say, the other day we had a dad come out with his son, who was one of our first veterans we sent to Wyoming for the week-long program. And the dad looked at us and he came up and he said, I just want to thank you for giving me my son back. And I like instantly I tear up because yes, I know we're doing that, but I haven't heard that. And that has struck me, that here is um the gentleman is probably my age, and and our kids, because my oldest son is 28, and here he is saying, thank you for giving me my son back. And I can't even imagine what that feels like for him, because I haven't experienced it, but oh my gosh, it was just so what we're doing is making a difference. And that really showed us right there.
Absolutely.
So
I,
yes,
do
and
you guys do
we
you
have
guys have a testimonial on a testimonial page on your website?
I think we do have some testimonials, but I need to get that updated because I'll tell you, we have a lot of testimonials. We had a veteran just write on Facebook the other day. He said, if I hadn't have found Saddles and Service, he goes, I wouldn't be here today writing this. He goes, when I found them, I was days away from taking his own life. And another veteran, he came out and said, the day before I came here, I was planning which bridge I was going to drive off. And I was like, oh my gosh. And you hear this and I was like, oh, I'm so glad you didn't. And I'm so glad you gave us the opportunity. And I want to let you know, we don't charge anything. There's like no charge for this. So when they're coming out here, they can come out, like I said, as long as they want. There is no charge. We don't need insurance or anything like that. It's all um, free for them.
Wow. Now my listeners have no excuses now. You just took that away, right? How do you do fundraising, or I mean, how do you operate the ranches? Is it through just donations or grants or?
Yes, so donations, we've written some grants. We held a golf tournament last year. We're having another golf tournament this year in which Amy sang the national anthem and she was our MC, and she will be this year as well. And we're thinking of hosting a gala later on this year. But yeah, it's all donations. And another important fact is 98 cents of every dollar we receive goes straight into the program. I'm not paid. I'm the CEO. We have no executive salaries, no board salaries. Um, and so really we are so committed to the veterans and first responders and their families that that's what matters. And so the money goes straight into our program.
So you have like 2% or less in operating cost. Wow.
Yes. Well, administrative costs
Right.
is less than 2%. Yes.
That's that's incredible. I'm the opposite with my podcast. I'm 98% in, 2% out. So you'll have to teach me how you're doing that because that's pretty amazing. It sounds like a great place. Now, I know the ranch in Texas is within a short drive for me, and so I do plan on visiting the ranch in Elkhart, Texas. That's not too far from where I live, and there's a lot of beautiful ranches in Texas. So I'm sure this one is awesome. And I've seen the pictures, the photo gallery on the website, and it looks like Wyoming looks amazing. California looks really incredible. And so I want to, as we kind of wrap things up for tonight, I want the listeners to go to the website, Saddles and Service, check it out. If you or someone you know, if you think they could benefit from this program, which more than likely they will, definitely reach out to Tammy and reach out to her team and check it out. It's a great resource. It's not something that is going to cost you anything other than maybe taking off some time from work, you know. But it's not going to cost you anything. You don't have to take out a second mortgage or anything to participate in it. So check it out for sure. Yeah, and thanks so much, Tammy, for being on. Like I said, you're the perfect pair to have on because the music side and Amy
Yeah.
is living the dream that I had when I was younger because I wanted to. Well, I was an Elvis Presley impersonator when I was younger, and I thought I wanted to be in the music industry, and that didn't happen. So you're living my dream as far as the music industry goes, but I kind of decided that instead of music, I would be a talker and I would be a speaker and I would speak and I would teach and do this podcast, obviously. So in a way, it gets me the same results. I'm helping people and making them laugh or making them cry, just like singers do, like I'm sure you do, Amy. I'm sure you bring all kinds of emotions out in people, and so it's super important to have that and the healing aspect of the horses. Yeah, you guys are great, and we'll bring Amy back in. Is there anything else that you guys want to cover before we let everybody go have a late dinner?
No, this was just incredible. I'm so glad that Tammy really got to share such amazing information on Saddles and Service. If you can reach out and support, as you can see, this or horses don't eat for free. They need food, and a ranch has to run. And this is giving back to so many people. So support the organization. Reach out to me if you want to get a hold of Tammy. I've got her on a red line speed dial, so you can reach either one of us and get more information about Saddles and Service. And thank you for today.
You're very welcome.
Yeah.
And check out Voice for Heroes as well. That's Amy's nonprofit veteran organization. So check out Voice for Heroes and get your hands on that single Coming Home. You heard it tonight on the podcast. It's a great song. And any last words, Tammy, before we cut out?
I have one more exciting piece of news I got to tell you because I forgot to say this. There's so much to say I forget. We have two Border Patrol horses that are going to be retired, and their new mission is to come to Saddles and Service and help veterans and first responders. And they are Mustangs. So we're getting our first two Mustangs at Saddles
Wow.
and Service. And there's going to be more coming in as well. So Mustangs, all the guys are really excited about being able to work with a Mustang, but it's great that these Border Patrol horses are now going to live a new purpose and mission. But thank you for having us. Thank you, and thank you, Amy. And this has been so wonderful. Thank you for what you do.
Oh, thank you. I think all of us are on the same sheet of music. Um, no pun intended, but I think where I'm at. I mean, I know that you have the love for horses and for veterans, and you have the love for veterans and music, and I have the love for my brothers and sisters becoming great leaders and loving themselves and becoming those pillars that all of us need to have in our lives, because there's a lot of weak people, in the world, and they're not strong. They're not strong in their heart and in their mind. And so I'm looking to the veterans to step up in a lot of different places around the country, And so, and I'm coming from a place of living a life of codependency and making literally no decisions for 50 years of my life. The second half of my life is completely about service. And it has to be, because I took for so long. So the second half is all about, giving until you're broke, It's just, but that's where I'm at, and that's what I want to go out doing, is serving. And the veterans, is a spot in my heart that I just naturally, I have to work with veterans, and I have to do what I can to help them. So, and I think we're all in the same boat. So I thank you, Amy, and I thank you, Tammy, for being on the podcast. We're gonna have another guest in a couple of weeks, and I just want to thank both of you again, and encourage the listeners to check out the show notes. There'll be links in there for Amy and for Tammy, and we have been speaking with Amy Scruggs and Tammy Oluvic. Did I get it? Yay for me.
You got it. Yes. Yes.
And it's been a great interview. So thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. And we're going to wrap up the Men on a Mission podcast for tonight. It has been an awesome interview with these two amazing ladies that are fighting hard for the men and women of the armed forces. So until next time, I will end like I always do. Love yourself, take care of yourself, and most of all, your little person within you needs you more than you can imagine. Love them, protect them, and be responsible for them, because they need you right now. Until next time, bye for now.
First to fight for the right and to build the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Proud of all we have done, fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. And it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cages loud and strong. For wherever we go, you will always know that the army goes rolling along. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the